guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back. This time another international preview video. Republic of Ireland take on Azerbaijan this Wednesday in Azerbaijan. And we're talking about the two teams are the bottom two in the table. Ireland and 2 points, Azerbaijan and 1 point, Daz. They obviously drew in Dublin the last time they met as well. Ireland did get a late equaliser in that game as well. Azerbaijan, to be fair, were beaten 1-0 to Portugal and beaten 2-1 to Serbia. So there's no actual whipping boy in the group. I don't think there's been a game that, 3 goals has been the biggest margin in the group, like, you know what I mean? And that's been rare. Serbia beating Luxembourg 4-1. Azerbaijan did lose to Portugal in the second game 3-0 as well. But we know for a fact from watching Ireland play that Ireland have to be at their very best in any of these games to try and get something. And, we've seen them against Portugal, let's be honest, we've seen them against Serbia actually put up decent performances as well. But when it comes to the so-called lesser teams, when the pressure's really on and we're the apparent favourite, we do struggle a bit. And that's something we have to change going into this match, isn't it, to be fair?
Look, it's definitely something we need to change. And I know a lot of people are saying, Stephen Kenny's playing a different way. He's trying to change the culture of how we play, and the days of long ball only is kind of gone and all. And that's all well and good, but he needs to start backing it up with results. He's got no competitive win so far, and I still can't believe I'm saying that. And, it's just, he just needs to get a win. And this, I don't like saying it, but it is a must win. He needs to get a win. Like, you can't go through the whole this qualifying phase and still have no wins. Like, that's just not acceptable, because the next game they're even tougher. You got Portugal again and all these teams, and you can't be expecting to go out and get wins against Portugal. You need to be looking at a team like Azerbaijan saying this is a winnable game. If we play it to our best, play it to our strengths, identify their weaknesses and play at them, we should beat them. But even if you were going back years ago, a poor Ireland performance would be Azerbaijan. Like, under Mick McCarthy, Ireland played terrible against Gibraltar. They still, came up with a win somehow. But it's against these games we shouldn't be worried about, but we are. It's where we're at, and we're having a discussion before the show there, what the level that our players are playing at. We're looking at people giving out that we have a player from Lincoln that's been called up, and League One players leading the line and stuff. That's where we're at the minute. People need to understand this is where we're at. We no longer have a Premier League quality side 11 that's going to play every week in the Premier League going into an Ireland setup. So we need to know our level now, and
look, we don't really even have a championship 11. You could argue, yeah.
We don't even have a championship level. Yeah. And, when you're looking at it like that, it's a mixed bag of, you got a few Premier League players, you got championship, you got League One players, but that's where we're at the minute. And Stephen Kenny's trying to change it, but I do think going forward, Stephen Kenny, if he wants to stay as Ireland team manager, needs to be able to change up how we play as well. It's no good playing out from the back and then going straight back and then actually lumping it long out to the wings. That's not playing out, first of all. But secondly, if it's not working, you need to be able to change it in a game. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over, and it doesn't work. It's ludicrous. You can't be doing it. So I hope in Azerbaijan, against Azerbaijan, I should be saying, if we try to play out and it's not working, as Stephen Kenny has a plan B and C and just tries it. We have actually nothing to lose, bar lose the game, obviously, and he gets no win. But I would like to see him have another game plan of how we could play with this Ireland team going into this kind of a match, because we do need different ways of playing, especially if the players, that he plays with and relies on aren't available to him in the next game. He needs somebody to play with other players as well, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, apart from that as well, not just him, but the whole team, the setup, the management as a whole, they need a win to get a monkey off their back, basically, as well. You know yourself, the longer anything goes on like that, the confidence just levels really, really drop. It's just a monkey. It's mad when I go back and think about it. His first ever game against Slovakia, beaten in penalties, and that could have been easily a win. That's the funny thing. And yet we're talking, whatever games it is, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 matches, might be 16 matches. I'm not too sure if that's competitive.
17, I think.
17, is that competitive matches as well? It's hard to believe that we haven't won since. You do wonder, I often wonder to myself, if we'd beaten Slovakia, would we have a few more wins? That kind of weird way, but it's a monkey. It's not a nice monkey on your back, it's like an orangutan in his back at the moment. But they need to get a win somewhere. And you're right, I have a lot of time for Kenny and what he's trying to do in the process and what we're trying to do as a nation, because I believe it's the right approach. But we do need to win games somewhere along the line as well. I'm not saying we should be qualifying for a World Cup or we should be going to a Euros, because we actually shouldn't be. I don't care who the manager is, really. We shouldn't be. But you know what I mean? You could get there. You know what I'm saying? But we just need to get wins. And this Azerbaijan game is another genuine opportunity. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. These games are not easy. We've seen it with Portugal and Serbia, but it is an opportunity for Ireland to go out and get a win. And I just get that monkey off their back. That's what's all about for now, isn't it? That's all it is.
These teams like Azerbaijan, though, like we shouldn't really be fearing these teams, but
I don't think we're fearing them, but
it's a level we're at, and we need to get a win. It's as simple as like it's a draw and play well, and the draw is for me now. It's not good enough. The line needs to be drawn, and someone needs to say it. The line has to be drawn when question marks over Stephen Kenny's future. Yes, he's trying to play out and trying to play differently, but if he doesn't get a win against Azerbaijan or we lose but play well, is that good enough?
Even a 1-0 stinker, because I never see much goals in our team. Even if we create 5 or 6 good chances, you don't see many goals in our team. So it's valuable that we keep clean sheets, in my opinion. If we concede 1 against Azerbaijan, I think we struggle to win the match. To be honest, that's
absolutely. We definitely need to beat the team that's going to score first, because if we don't go score first, the heads are going to drop, and Azerbaijan are going to get on top, and they're going to sit back.
We won't break them down if they score first. We might get a goal, but we won't break them down, score 2 or 3. No chance.
No, absolutely not. And just looking at the game, just going into it, like Azerbaijan, no one really knows many players off the top of their head for Azerbaijan, so that just says something straight away.
I'll tell you another thing, Daz. Not just that; it's the pronunciations are killer. There's one or two that are, but the pronunciations are bloody killer.
We're not going to try and get to them now. We'll be able to pronounce their names, but just going back to the game as well. I do think the line needs to be drawn. Stephen Kenny can't get results. There's not too many managers that could be in a game, 16, 17 competitive games with no wins. I think the longest manager I know actually that's got without wins is Grant McCann off of Hull City. He lost something like 20 games in a row in the championship. He didn't get sacked. So that's the longest serving manager I know, or off the top of my head anyway, that has that amount of games with no wins. So
ironically, Daz, without going too deep into it, because kind of another story for another day, but a lot of people were championing Chris Hughton. And he didn't exactly pull up trees in Nottingham Forest, but people still want him in. I think that the issue I have at the moment, without going too deep as well, is that some people seem to not have an alternative, really. Like, they're kind of going, get him in. But you have to have some kind of concise argument. I don't mind someone saying, okay, Kenny should go because this and that and this, and we should get him in. But it seems to be a very loosely based argument, as like Chris Hughton. Come on, reality. He's not going to do much better in reality when we think about it, because his biggest achievement, to be fair, really was getting Newcastle up into the Premier League. Newcastle shouldn't be in the Championship.
No, they shouldn't be. No, definitely not. And obviously they had the squad and the money in the back, and I know they have owner issues, blah blah blah, but they did have a squad back then to get
for that level. Yeah.
But Hughton, he got Norwich up as well. I do think he's a good manager, and it'd be hard to know. Obviously, it's a conversation for the day. Would do better than Stephen Kenny? But that is a conversation for the day. I don't want to get too much into that. But myself, so key going forward. In international football, it is results-based business anyway. But international, for myself, I don't care how we play. I want results. I want us to win games. You're not going to look back and say, we played great, but we lost it. And you're going to look back at the moments that we won. Everyone talks about that Germany match still. We got great results there. Everyone talks about the Bosnian match when we qualified that time to the playoffs. For me, it's them nights that you're going to remember, not how we played, but we didn't win. You're going to remember the nights that we won.
I agree with you, Daz, 100%. But do you think there's an element in the fan base that they seem to think, for some reason, if we get another manager in, it can be anybody, and we're going to be beating Germany or beating Bosnia and getting to a Euros and getting to a World Cup? And I think, in my opinion, at this minute in time with the squad we're at, regardless who the manager is, that looks a long way off, in my opinion. And if a manager did do that, I think it'd be bigger than Jack Charlton's achievements, bigger than anything else you've seen before. I'm not sure that's realistic with the squad and with the phase we're in. Do you? At the moment?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. You can look back at Martin O'Neill's tenure or Mick McCarthy's. They all had seasoned pros, Premier League superstar. Well, not superstars, Premier League players that were playing every week in the Premier League.
Martin O'Neill had Robbie Keane at the first part of his managerial.
And John Joe Walters, you had an informed Robbie Brady, you had informed Hendrick. You had experienced John O'Shea, you had a young Seamus Coleman, you had You had an experienced Warney playing left back. You had dependable players that you knew were going to play well. You had, if you want to go back even further, you'd like to Shea Given. You had all these lads, seasoned pros, they've been there, they've done it, and you can rely on them. But now we're looking at 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are not playing at club level, who are playing at club level, but at League One level, who are, mid-table League One. It's a big jump from going from a Premier League starter every week to going to a League One mediocre team as a young player, inexperienced. You cannot expect him to be qualifying tournaments simply, even another manager come in saying, oh, he'll get us qualifying. How can he with this kind of a team? Yes, I'd be saying maybe differently if Stephen Kenny had the team that maybe Martin O'Neill had, or maybe, Mick McCarthy had. As I said, seasoned pros, different players, experienced players, Premier League players. I'd be saying different then if Stephen Kenny wasn't getting results. Yes, but no, if Martin O'Neill and all them had the squad Stephen Kenny has now, the same players, I actually think we might be even doing worse. Who knows? We can't do much worse than what we're doing.
We might have a point or two extra. We could be where we are. It's not going to be something that's going to plateaus to be up there with Serbia, let's say, for example.
No, definitely not. But, it is what it is. We are where we are at the minute, and the players that we have are very young, and hopefully in a few years' time they'll be developed and be more confident internationally going forward. We'll be a better nation where we were at a few years ago. But, we were, I think it was 38, 39th in the world at one stage. We've fell down so far since then, and that's a bit worrying to see. But obviously, that's again a conversation for another day, because it's not Stephen Kenny's fault we are where we're at. By no means is it. It's definitely all the people out over there that let it all drop and didn't invest, and the youth fail. And I think a lot of people.
Yeah, this is going on for years. Like, this is happening for years, and you can see it decline for years. We could have anyone as the manager now. I'd be having the same conversation with you. Like, it goes beyond the manager and the management team, and even the players to a degree. It goes beyond them as well, to be honest with you, because they are where they are. You know what I mean? It's not their fault. Like, the development plan is just, it's gone to posh. People like Doctor in there. Doctor, what's he doing? I mean, he's not even Irish, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think we need someone who knows the grassroots systems. And there's very knowledgeable people out there. I've spoken to some as well, and they know what's going on, and they know what can be done and things like that, but they're not allowed. This is the problem as well. But another conversation probably for another day as well, but we're touching on a few things like that. But we'll go through your first to 11 anyway, Daz. Give you going for a goal.
Yeah, so I think before I announce my team, I would just like to say that obviously Stephen Kenny left out a few players that I probably would have had in, like Kieran Clark was left out, Scully was left out. A few players like that I probably would have included that he just didn't bring for whatever reason, but that's his own doing. He obviously seen something else. But anyway, going for me and goal doing for Bazunu. I don't think there's any debate around that. Obviously, he started Ireland very, very well. I think he's played something like the last 7 games and going for Ireland, and he's gone from strength to strength. I watched his press conference today. He was very level-headed, very mature, ahead of his years, I thought, as well. Spoke very well, wants to play for Ireland, passionate, determined. I think he's going to go to the very, very top, and I'm one of his biggest fans, and I think he's absolutely brilliant. And
another key attribute for him, Daz, before you move on as well, is his ball playing ability at the back. It's unreal. He's so cool, but he can play long diagonals to left and right. He might hit one over the sideline, but 5 or 6 are landing on the fullback's toes, and that's fantastic. Like, you know what I mean? And
that's only going to keep getting better.
Yeah, clearly. The way Kenny plays as well, clearly that's the type of keeper he likes, but he's a good all-round keeper as well, as you say. Great. I remember him from his days. You'll remember him as well at Shamrock Rovers, and coming in at 16, flipping hell, I thought this guy's unreal. Seeing him play, like, we talk about good goalkeepers we see in the League of Ireland now, but honestly, I saw him and thought he's on another level. And we're seeing it now. He's playing with Ireland and he's performing. He might make a mistake, in 1 or 2 games. It may happen eventually. It does happen to every keeper, but you're right. You can't go against him, can't you not, at this minute in time?
No, definitely not. And again, as well as that, he's only 19. Like, he's only 19. A lot of people are forgetting that. Like, he could still be playing another 2 years at under 21 level for Ireland. It's not. He's playing qualifiers, competitive games for the seniors. Like, that's brilliant. Like, I'm so happy for him. I'm delighted that he's there. He's been included. And we've got 2 other great goalkeepers there that would have a shout in, if Bazunu was Scotland to get injured or get sick.
No issue with goalkeepers, I can tell you that anyway.
You're Travers, and
that's the one position with no issues with his goalkeepers going forward.
No issues. And, even Travers is flying high at Birmingham at the top of the championship, and he can't get into the Ireland squad. Hopefully he plays in some of the friendlies, but he's doing great as well. And Keller is number 2 in the Premier League, ahead of one of the world's best goalkeepers. So it's great to see. For me, I've actually went with 5-3-2. Stephen Kenny's probably going to play something like that as well. So with 3 centre backs, I went with John Egan, Shane Duffy, and Mobama. For me, I thought they were very strong in the last few times they've played. I think Duffy's having a very good season. John Egan's got into 2 or 3, player of the match awards. He's playing very, very well. Mobama isn't getting in too much of Norwich, but has done very, very well for Ireland. Again,
he's 19 still, isn't he? I think.
He's 19 as well, yeah.
I think at Norwich, the way they're struggling, I think the manager feels under pressure to play young players. Even, do you know Billy Gilmore, the young Scottish player, very talented player, even he's not getting in the team at the moment. So there's fear with him to play the young players, clearly, because of the pressure under, I think. But with Bamadele, I think, do you know what's brilliant about him? He can beat a press. Duffy and Egan might be good at that in terms of passing the ball, and that he has the ability to come out at the back, come very comfortably with the ball and beat a press, and I think that's very important as well. And I think I'd actually like Kenny to play 4-3-3 if I'm honest, and play one less defender and actually attack Azerbaijan. However, if he's going with the system you're going with, and you could be right, you could go with that. That's the back three I'd probably pick as well, to be honest.
Yeah, look, it's pretty standard. Everyone knows their job. Everybody has played together. Bazunu will know them very well. Duffy and Egan are actually in very good form. One of a few Irish players is in good form. So it's important to play your in-form players when you can, if it's possible. So that's why I went with them 3 at the back. On the wings then, I went with Stevens left wing and Doherty right wing. For right back, we haven't got really too many more options unless you're going to play someone out of position in the right wing back position.
Not bad really back 6, is it, with the keeper when you think about it?
Yeah.
It's not bad. We're not bad. And even under Kenny, in fairness, we haven't been conceding a lot of goals. Under McCarthy and O'Neill, generally, we were okay that way. Apart from the end of O'Neill's tenure, we kind of, 6-1 against Denmark and that didn't happen though. But you know what I mean? We're kind of okay there when we've everyone available. The question is how fit Stevens is. But also, you made a point there that kind of came into my head there about players playing, and that if players aren't playing, they're not the fittest, match fit. I think that's been a problem with us as well, and we've looked a bit lethargic in some games because of that. But you're talking about generally a back 6 there that have been playing. So they should be up to scratch in terms of fitness. Even though Bamadeli's played some games here and there in the Premier League and with Ireland. So the fitness levels should be okay, which I think is key as well, because all the Azerbaijan players, by the way, all play for their clubs. I know they might be slightly lower level, but they're playing matches, And it is a big thing. We see it in Europe with the League of Ireland teams when we play teams. It does come into effect. So it's an important thing, I think, to factor in going into these games, actually.
Definitely important. You're often not really playing players that just never play, and that's something that some teams have to do, unfortunately. But the likes of Bamadele has played with Ireland recently enough. He's played very, very well. When he came on and made that substitute appearance, I thought he was absolutely excellent. I raved about him after that match, and that's something that I remember. I think he deserved his place coming in. But for me personally, again, if Kieran Clark had been included, I would have had him there. I'm just going to say that, but he was not included. So I'm picking the players from the pool Stephen Kenny picks from. So I would have had Clark there because he is playing in the Premier League regularly.
Ahead of Bamadele, is it?
Yes. Well, Bamadele deserves to be there. He's played very well for Ireland and he hasn't let us down. He came in and did very, very well for a young player coming in. Stevens has come back into the team as well at club level and he's playing well. And obviously, excuse me. Obviously, they're doing well as well. So he's experienced as well. We need to have some experienced heads in the very young team. So if you have an experienced players in when I can. So I would have went with Stevens and Doherty on the wings there for that.
I think it's very important Stevens back. I think that's understated in many ways because we've had Doherty on the left and that. And I'm old-fashioned, but I do prefer a left footer, left back and a right footer, right back. It just... it can take a second or two off decision making as well. That can be crucial if you're changing onto this foot and that foot, or will I hit it with my left foot, I turn onto my right foot, things like that. And also whipping crosses into the box. If you do get that opportunity, that you can whip them fairly handily with your left foot from the left hand side, as opposed to taking a second or two to turn, and that can be crucial as well.
Yeah, that definitely can be crucial. So I completely agree. I think it's vitally important that you have your fullbacks anyway. Like if you have a left fullback, you have left foot, or right fullback, right foot, or it's obviously different on the attacking wingers because they cut in because they're trying to attack, maybe not defend or cross as much. So that's different there, but you completely agree. Going into my midfield 3 then. This, you could say this was hard to pick or easy to pick. There wasn't too many options to pick from. So I went with Hurahan, Knight and Cullen. Knight came back in for Derby. He's a very good young player. We all know how good he is. He's very young as well. He's only like 19. Absolutely brilliant to have him there. For him, what a wonderful left foot he has. He can hit a free kick. He can hit a corner. And Ireland has relied so much on set pieces. I think every goal for Stephen Kenny's more or less came from a set piece. So definitely going to need a set piece taker there anyway. Like Shane Duffy trademark header or John Egan header. But Horan's a great player, and he's someone that I definitely would have in midfield anyway, because he's got that balance about him. He's just good at getting around the midfield, and mightn't be the quickest of players, but he's good at getting a pass long and short and dropping into the backs, collecting it and picking a pass going forward. So Knight obviously has a good engine on him. And then I went with Cullen as well. Cullen spent the last 2 games for Ireland. It was a toss-up for me for Cullen and McGrath. So I found it a bit of a challenge who to pick for, but I just think if you want a bit more stability and balance in the team of having someone more defensively minded, I think Cullen we probably should go with. I know we should be attacking Azerbaijan, but I'd just be wary that we don't concede any early goals. We have someone, if we do go a goal up at half time, we take Cullen off and bring on McGrath then or something like that and try and go a bit more attacking then. But I don't want to be too open going against Azerbaijan. I don't want to be too negative either. But when we're in possession of the ball, then you're going to have 5 in midfield. You have fullbacks pushing on, so it is attacking. Obviously, then you got 2 forwards as well, so you'd have a lot of players going forward and back at once. Then we're out of possession of the ball, and that turns back into a back 5. All good and well on paper and in theory, but that's how I would.
Do you think he will play that midfield though? Do you think there's a chance Hendrick plays though? And if he does play, who does he play for? Do you think maybe Knight? You might think it's a bit early after coming back, possibly.
Yes, I think so. Hendrick even scored for Newcastle very recently and played okay for them. Which is great to see, and I really want him to do well.
Oh yeah, we all want. I mean, we've criticised players before and Hendrick and players like that, but you want him to do well. It's not like you're picking on him personally or we're picking on him personally. You know what I mean? People get confused sometimes. I want Hendrick to do well. I want him to perform. But he hasn't been performing. That said, you said he's in the team, done well for Newcastle. He did play well in the last game for Ireland as well. I'll give him that too. You have to, credit where it's due as well. I see him as a similar player to Knight, by the way, in terms of the engine thing. I think Knight has more potential, looks a better player, but he might play Hendrick because he might think ahead of Knight, because he might think, Knight has only had a couple of games back, blah, 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 blah. I think Colin and Horan need legs around them in the middle of the park as well. Cullen and Horan need legs around them in the middle of the park as well, because they're not the best at getting around the park. They're not terrible, not the best at getting around the park either. So you will need Hendrick or Knight there. I wouldn't see him play Hendrick and Knight though, that kind of way. And coming back to Cullen as well, I think he likes him deep as well because he is capable of picking up the ball and starting attacks. I don't think McGrath can do that from that position as well as Cullen. No. So I think you probably have 2 right there as well. I think Cullen and Horan will probably play, and then I think one of Hendrick or Knight will play. I'd like to see Knight play personally myself. I think he might go with Hendrick though. Yeah, I think he will go with Hendrick too for all them reasons, as well as that Hendrick, he is experienced. He has played an awful lot of games for Ireland, so he has that experience about him too. And if he's coming into some kind of form at club level, hopefully he can bring that into international level, and hopefully we see a better Hendrick than what we have seen in previous times. And hopefully he has a great game if he does play, and he has the potential to play well. We have all seen him play well in the Euros for Ireland many moons ago, but there is a player there that we all know what he could do in his day. So once again, important to have midfield players who are actually playing at club level, particularly in the centre of midfield as well. Because if you have to come in, this is happening forwards. This has been an issue with the international breaks. We've had 2 or 3 matches and sometimes 3 qualifying matches as well. And then we're playing 1 or 2 players, say midfielders and that, who haven't been playing at club level. It's just impossible then to just go no games and then 3 intense games in a row. And we've tripped up there a little bit as well. I think when we played Luxembourg, for example, I think that's what got us. We put in a brilliant, intense performance against Serbia, and against Luxembourg, we were too flat with too many players that weren't used to playing high-octane games. And, at that midfield there, Knight has a great engine. I have a feeling Knight is the type of player that he can miss a few games and it wouldn't make a difference. Some players are like that. It's weird, but that'd be a good midfield, to be fair, I think. Anyway, it's a decent enough midfield. Then you're going top 2. I'd say you're going a player in behind the striker, is it? Type thing.
You could say it's something like that. I'm kind of going with Robinson and Ida up front. Robinson is playing with West Brom, the top championship. He scored a good few goals. He's playing very well. He's converted from a winger now to a striker. He's playing striker most weeks now.
Would you go the two of them up front together, like literally as a partnership, rather than Robinson and behind?
Yeah, because I think you got that kind of a balance. Ida's more, he's tall, he's strong, he can hold the ball up, and Robinson's got pace, he can run behind. And I think if you play that two old-fashioned striker partnership, it's hard to defend against. And not many teams go like that anymore. And that's probably more suited to a long ball game in a way. But, if you're going to play it up and have Ida hold on to it, and Robinson runs a wing or he runs through and
but it gives Ida more support, doesn't it? Because I think Ida's done brilliantly in the games he's done when he's been isolated as well. But we're talking about our wing backs. If we're playing that system, by the way, you've got Stevens and Doherty getting forward, and they might get crossed into the box. Naturally, Ida and Robinson are more likely to be in the box. You know what I mean? Two options there. He could still go with a 4-3-3 rather, in my opinion. And he might play two wingers like an Ogben and a Connolly, potentially. You know what I mean? But we're talking about the system that you're kind of choosing here and to see how he could play that way. It is good to have both options, by the way. But I think that's been the one criticism I've had, not with Ida, it's not with Ida, but either with the system or with the players in the system, that he hasn't been supported enough. And, you can be a striker and you can hold up the ball for so long before you're either belted or tackled. You can't hold it up for 5 seconds, you know what I mean, with no support. It's impossible. And I think he's done really well. And I think with Ida as well, he's done so much work in holding the ball up, running the channels. Often with strikers like that, if they get a chance, they're knackered. You know what I mean? They're thinking about the other things. But if you have someone with support like Robinson, as you say, if I was going that system, I probably would go Ida and Robinson, by the way, too. I think they could be the two that would that I choose personally as well. So it could be interesting, that too. I
think, absolutely. But for myself, and we've discussed this there a few days ago, I think Connolly, he hasn't really done much for Ireland to warrant a place. Myself, I think Robinson and Ida are ahead of pecking order international level for me for various different reasons. Connolly had a few chances, he just didn't take them. He's very young and inexperienced. It will come with time, but I think as of now, Ida's done very well. Deserves to be in the team, and Robinson's obviously playing very well with West Brom and played well with Ireland when he has his chance, and we need players that are playing, as much as we can. And I know that sounds kind of contradiction. I'm going to have Amabamidele in the team who is getting in the club level, and Ida who's coming on in the 90th minute for Norwich. But again, it's where we're at with players. We don't have
also at the same time, Daz, you're after picking 8 or 9 players that are playing first team football. So it's different if you 4 or 5 guys who haven't been playing and that as well. And, you have to pick. I think Ida has played a few games here and there, and he's done well with Ireland. And so we know he can do well, that kind of way. But I think that's fair. Yeah, Connolly, I'll go back to Connolly there as well. I actually think Connolly as well at the moment, for his confidence and for other reasons as well, might suit better come on sub with 20 minutes to go, because the opposition get tired. He can run at you, he can open up the spaces. He just needs to have a bit more composure and a bit more in the count, if you like.
Just on that, I'd love to see Connolly and Ogbene get a chance and to come on.
And Ogbene,
blistering pace to come on at a defence that might be tired late on in the game. And Ogbene came on there really late a few months ago, got goals straight away. He definitely, I'd love to see Ogbene come on and play. And if one of these players was to go out, I definitely would go with maybe Ogbene as well to come in and play one in position.
Also gives you the option to change it up. If he wants to go 4-3-3, he can look at the bench and go, okay, I might go Connolly left, I might go Ogbene right. Let's change the dynamic here. The funny thing is, Daz, I might have said it before, but Kenny's always been a 4-3-3 manager, and I think he wants his team to play 4-3-3. But I think he feels, and probably rightly so in a lot of cases, with injuries and other things like that, that he hasn't really had the opportunity to play 4-3-3, because he likes 2 wingers, like you say, at pace. So even with Connolly and Ogbene, he's rarely had the 2 of them at the same time anyway. So even if Connolly was playing with confidence, whatever, you know what I mean? He hasn't had that opportunity. And that's the system he really, really deep down wants to play. Will he play that way on Wednesday? I'm not so sure, because Ogbene he's only back pretty much, isn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Only back pretty much, and Connolly has been, confidence-wise, I don't think his head has been right. So he probably will resist the temptation. I think he will go the 3-5-2 personally as well. But it's an interesting factor to take in as well, that he hasn't really been able to play 4-3-3 with the personnel he's had in terms of the wing.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, even looking back a year ago, we did a video before And there was 13, 14, 15 absentees to his team that he could have picked from that he just couldn't then because they're all
people
out.
are forgetting about that a little bit as well. That's the thing. We can look at the stats and it doesn't look great, like not 1 in 17 games and that, but we're forgetting about there's been at times COVID has killed them and absentees, and people say they're excuses, but yeah, they are obviously, but they are excuses. Like Ireland can't afford to be missing 12, 13 players.
No, and like I can't, in my time of watching football now, 20 odd years, 15 years, I think it is, not too long. Keith's probably doubled that, but you know, I've never seen.
I haven't seen that.
An international team that I know of to have 13, 14, 15 players out that would be there on a normal day, unless there's a strike or something like that goes on in some mad countries, you know. But I've never seen like a European team missing.
Not with us. I haven't seen it with us in my time either. So
never seen it. I've seen 3 or 4 players out missing, and then 3 or 4 starters back in the day would come in from their club level and end up doing well and cement their position. And there's headaches about who to pick, and that's a great problem to have. But we don't have that problem. But no. Stephen Kenny has had his problem since he started, since he's took over, and it's been there and it's lingering about, and it's going to be forgotten about. You know, in 30 years' time, that's going to be forgotten about how hard he actually had it when he came in and took over and everything that's going on. But again, it's conversation for another day. But that's my team below, guys. Let me know what you think of it anyway. Let me know any changes you might think as well. And, you know, come on, you boys in green.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Daz. We'll leave it there. Guys, subscribe if you're new. I suppose hit the bell notification button so you don't miss a video. Let us know, as Daz says, what you think in the comments. And thanks very much for watching. And come on, Ireland. Let's go. Olé, 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 olé.